Being out in the rain and the, kind of crazy weather. We're so happy to have the Bellaceras here at Twisted Track Gallery, and they're going to share a little bit about their work. Paula's going to start. There's 81 pieces in this show, and so there's lots to see and lots to enjoy, and take it away, Paula.
Thank you. Well, first, I want to thank you all for coming out in the weather. This turnout is so much bigger than I ever expected, so thank you so much for that. I want to thank Matt for providing this beautiful space, and Nisa and Cynthia for curating, and Steve for installing. When Joe and I pulled up with two big vehicles full of art, we expected to take half of it home. But Nisa and Cynthia curated beautifully. Stephen installed the work, and we're just over the top joyful that all this work, good work. Most people don't have a clue how much hard work it is to not only produce the art, but to hang a show, make it cohesive, clean up the walls, make everything level and eye level. It's just a big production. So when I go to an artist talk, there's a lot of things I want to know. It's like, are they going to talk about their history, about their art, about how they produce work, about their life as an artist, about their inspiration? Maybe I'll touch on all these different things, but I have to say, what first comes is the inspiration. I think that mostly I get inspiration just visually from seeing things in books or magazines, movies, or in nature. And you can see that I'm the animal artist here, and Joe is everything else. We both have a lot to cover. One of the places for inspiration is not only nature and the media, but there's dreams and literature. But my favorite inspiration is other artists. So as artists, Joe and I love to go to galleries and museums. Today we were in Davis, half a day going to artist studios. It's so much fun to interact with artists. I really encourage everyone, when you have an opportunity to go to an open studio, to go and talk to the artists. It's always fascinating to find out how they make their art, why they make their art. And I was thinking about what I was going to talk about. This is really off the cuff, although I do have in my back pocket a list of things. I'm thinking that last Friday we had First Friday opening reception, and people were asking me questions, so I think you might be interested in the answers to some of those questions too. So one of the questions was, why do you do animals? Well, I've done a lot of different things, but I think there's a lot of reasons why I do animals. My mother was an artist, and she did animals. My mother and I both have a great love of animals, but I think really the clincher for me was I was a ethology major. What is that? It's a study of animal behavior. I went to Sac State. I studied biology and psychology. I went to graduate school. I studied animal behavior, and I spent the good part of 3 years going out to the swamps of Louisiana where I was studying animals. And every day I would encounter wild animals, whether they were raccoons or possums or armadillos. Those are some of my favorites. But snapping turtles and water moccasins and alligators. And so in the quietness of studying animals out there, day in and day out, I saw the evolution of the life cycle of the plants and the animals. And it was a solitude and a meditation. And I feel like I had a great connection with even like the walking sticks. I'd be walking through the swamps and I'd see something a little out of place, and I'd go up and I'd go, "What are you?" And it was like a walking stick. There were days, like I think 2 days a year, almost like clockwork, caterpillars would come down from the trees on little silk threads. And I'd walk and I'd kind of have to duck among all the caterpillars hanging in the swamps. So I think I really enjoyed that communion with animals. And that question last week kind of spawned me thinking about it. And this week I was cleaning up the garden and putting some garden trash in the yard waste container and moving it around. And there was this hummingbird, and it kept coming back and forth. And I thought, what do you want? And there's nothing to eat over here. What are you looking at? And she'd go and she'd sit on this yucca tree where there was no flowers or anything. And then she'd start flying again. And I went over and I looked, and she was on this little tiny nest with 3 little tiny eggs, smaller than your little fingernail, little tiny eggs. And so that was a big gift. So to me, animals give me a gift. I'm feeling like I'm just using up all of my time with talking about the animal stories. But so that's why I think I do animals, is this connection. We all have connections with humans. We all have connections with plants. We all have connections with animals. And I think each of us has an animal that we feel more connected to than others. And for me, I wouldn't know what it is until I brought all of the paintings in and took a look. And it's like, my God, I have so many rabbits and owls. And suddenly I've got chickens and bees. So, it's kind of hard for me to pick an animal that I like the best. But one of the things I do when I study the animals, I try to get a hold of their personality, and I try to fix on what makes them unique. What is their power? And so with the rabbits, I think their ears are really important for them. They're out in the field and they're listening for predators. Is it safe or not? So I kind of exaggerate the ears. This one's called rabbit ears. And for the owls, I think their power are their forward-facing eyes and their nose-like beak. They really look like people to me, with really wild hairdos, the way that their feathers do all kinds of strange things. So that's, I think, why they end up in my repertoire. But I think that it's really the communion with animals, and I really feel that when people come in and look at my work, they point and they laugh and they smile. And I think it's really important for me to bring that joy to people. And I guess I do it through animals. I think that it's probably time for me to turn this over to Joe. But afterwards, we both have little mics that you could ask questions, and we're happy to answer. But before I give it over to Joe, life with as a partner to an artist couple, you might wonder, well, what's that like? Is there a lot of competition? There's artist couples in the audience here. I think that it just adds, because we have this joy of the visual world. We have this joy of music and poetry, and we always talk about it gets incorporated in our art. And it's kind of awkward when you have a partner that's not an artist or is not interested in art, because everything about our lives is art. Our social, our travel, everything that we do, eating, everything is about art. And so it's really nice for us to share that. And I don't sense much competition. Do you feel any competition?
No, dear.
No. Okay. Okay. One last thing. The secret to marital bliss with an artist is don't give your opinion of their artwork unless you're asked. Okay. Oh, that's a story you could tell. Thank you. I'm going to turn this over to Joe, and then we can have questions.
Okay, I'm going to change the subject. I'm going to talk about quantum physics, okay? The field of infinite potential, where light turns into matter. Okay, I don't really understand it, so I'm just going to make stuff up. So, like Paula said, I do everything else. You'll see that there's quite a diversity of subject matter here, from landscapes to digital to just abstract kind of expressionistic like work. So I guess to start at the beginning, when I was a little kid, I would see the beautiful light of a sunset, and I was so blown away by that. I thought, how can I keep that? And I think that's what an artist is. It's like they want to keep that feeling, that emotion that makes them feel beyond what they're being acculturated to anyway. And so everything is inspirational to me. I can walk anywhere, see a spider web. I spray water on it, and I take close-ups of the droplets, and I see the spectrum colors on a web and cracks in the sidewalk, you name it. But really, it's the light in nature, I guess, that most inspires me. The luminosity, the surprises, everything's kind of a miraculous wonder, full of wonder. It's like I use mostly...
excuse me, what was the question?
The question is about the digital work that I have here. And how do I do it, or what do I...
Yeah, process.
I'm not going to give that away. No. Basically, it starts with photographs of nature or close-ups of my hand-painted work. And I kind of look closely. I mean, I don't even know consciously what a lot of the effects I'm getting in my work until I look at it really closely. So then I take pictures of it, I put it into Photoshop, and I start doing all the things you're not supposed to do in Photoshop. And it creates kind of artifacts. I push the software to places that it's not meant to go. And so then I start seeing compositions and configurations that I like, that make me feel coherent. And I have to say that I do a lot of public art, and I recently did a project for the Bureau of Geology in New Mexico, and I love science and I love geology. And so one of the subjects in geology is topographic maps. So I wanted to learn how to make those topographic lines. I figured that out. And so what you see in a lot of these pieces is I call the topography of light. So it adds an optical effect. When you're looking at color fields merging, transitioning, and I put lines on it, it adds an optical effect. So that's what that's about. Yes.
Do you guys have separate studios?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Except I have to store her work.
Well, why is that, Joe?
Because you do a lot of work?
No, because your studio is so big.
Okay.
Yeah, we have separate studios. They're on our property, which is wonderful because we can take naps. We can go off separately. That's another thing about being married to an artist. They go in their studio and they never come out. But we get together for meals and stuff.
Yeah. We talk. We have a phone.
Yeah. Barbara, you had a question.
Can you speak a little bit about your two horse sculptures?
Oh, okay. Well, I think there's one right here. I recently started making these horses. I've done a lot of different animals. Horses are a little difficult in clay because they have really thin legs. These don't have the thinnest legs ever. But this is a technique that I really enjoy. I call it a patchwork quilt, where you come and you look carefully. There's all these different pieces of clay that I've put a texture mat over and, done a rolling pin over. And so it's so each piece has a different texture on it. And then I have a form that I've created that I use to sculpt around. I apply the individual pieces, score and slip, those of you who are familiar with ceramics. And then, so I create this, and then I come back and I color it in various ways. Maybe this one's a little more colorful than other ones, but I think the horses are a really big challenge. We have another ceramic artist here that does horses. Marianne Steinert Foley. She's a fabulous. Do you have a piece in the Crocker this year? A horse in the Crocker? Oh, figurative. She does figurative work as well. Anyway, did you have a specific question about the horses?
Well, maybe a little bit about what brought you to the horse. What brought you to the horse? You know,
I think the inspiration was other artists doing horses, looking at sculptures and then looking at antiquities, looking at how the horses were portrayed in China, in Greece, and it's just a
We talked a little bit how horses and mankind have kind of grown together
Yeah.
over centuries.
yeah, true,
There's a lot of communication between people and horses.
yeah.
I got a question about the owls.
Yes.
My mother loved owls, and so when we first saw these, but this looks like almost a group of humans hanging out in it. Is there something with you and the owls and people? And
Well, I got to tell you, when I first started doing owls, I looked at a lot of different species, and they have the funniest. Some of them have feathers that go like this. Some of them have feathers that go straight up. They have the weirdest hat feathers. And like I was saying earlier, the forward-facing eyes and the beak nose. One time we were at the gym, 24-hour fitness down here, and it was early in the morning, and all the bodybuilders were in there, and they had the wool caps on like this, and they're like this, and they're walking around. They've got these big beak noses, and I couldn't stop laughing. Yeah, there they are. They're right there. But the owls are really, really human-like.
Yeah.
And, this is an interesting picture because when I painted it, I was showing it to a group of other painters, and they were saying, oh, that made them sad. And I said, why does it make you sad? And they said, well, that one out there's left out. I said, no, that's the leader saying, where are you guys going? It's just a matter of interpretation. But so usually my owls are pretty playful and fun. But one time I created that very angry, stormy owl over there. But I think it's getting a lot of attention too. So, did that answer your question?
yeah, they're all
Yeah.
beautiful.
Okay, thanks.
Even the scary one.
Even the scary one. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
most of them have a pretty distinctive expression on their faces, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Is that something you plan? Like, this one I want to look stern, this one I want to be...
The question is, did I intend for these owls to have all these different expressions, looking stern or happy or whatever? And I think the answer is not intentionally. It just kind of happens. I think I'm more intentional with the ceramics than I am with the painting. I think sometimes it just happens. Things just happen. I don't know why.
Well, you've got real lucky.
I got lucky. Thank you. Okay. What's that? Named them? Oh, I think everybody has to give them their own names. Yeah. Did you have a question?
Have you thought about doing kids books?
Kids books.
Because some of these rabbits and these dogs, I'm sure everyone will agree, they're extreme.
Well, I take that as a compliment. The question was, did I ever think of illustrating children's books with my animals? Well, I'll be thinking about that. Thank you. Okay, well, I think it's time for you guys to just enjoy the art, and feel free to come and ask us questions. I really appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much.